The only other interesting thing that I saw this week was this. Have you guys seen this? Dude, this is a shitty week for dealing with big corpus. Riot delays and threatens to cancel League of Legends NA Esports season amid player walkout. So basically, players are having a walkout, and then Riot. I don't know how much of this article covers it, but basically, it sounded like they dropped all their amateur teams, like their tier 2 teams, because Riot was going to try to make them play the tier 2 teams while the tier 1 players were walking out, so they dropped them. And Riot basically is like, yeah, if you guys don't play, we're going to shut this whole shit down. So I'll just read it. Riot Games will delay the opening of its North American League of Legends Esports Summer Series for 2 weeks after professional players voted overwhelmingly to walk out. The announcement walkout meant players would not participate in the tournament should Riot Games not address the concerns for the League Championship Series Players Association, LCS-PA, about the future of the LCS and the Amateur North American Challengers League. If the two groups cannot reach an agreement in 2 weeks, Riot Games says it will cancel the summer season. If the summer season is canceled, a North American team will not compete at the 2023 League of Legends World Championship. Dude, Worlds is like the big one, right? Like for Overwatch, that's literally like grand finals. Basically, like just like, yeah, there will be no NA teams at grand finals or at Worlds if you do not come back now. That is crazy. They are hard strong arming them. The LCSPA represents the interests of all North American League of Legends professionals and is led by an extensive council of 5 players. It also includes several player representatives and an advisory board led by the executive director and former Evil Geniuses executive Phil Aram. The LCSPA was founded in 2007 by League of Legends publisher Riot Games and is split from the company in 2020. A separation plan since the initial founding of the organization. The LCSPA still has a pool of money from Riot Games' original investment. League players have announced their intention to walk out and refuse to participate in the LCS summer season called the Summer Split, after Riot Games announced a new direction for North America's second-tier development League of Legends League, the NACL. So basically like contenders for them. Earlier in May, Riot Games announced that it was removing a mandate that required LCS teams to fund an NACL team, in addition to the LCS rosters. So actually, we had this in Overwatch. If you didn't know, Overwatch League teams were actually required to have a contenders roster. I hope that's not confidential. Yeah, fuck it, dude. And for a long time, they were required to have a contenders team. And so every professional team had a contenders team. And then they kind of just like, they were all bleeding money. And so one by one, they just stopped. And they were like, fuck it, sue us. And I don't know if you remember, but it actually came down to, there was only a couple teams. It was like Boston, Atlanta, I don't remember, maybe like one more. And then like a couple of the Chinese teams as well. But like basically every team dropped their contenders rosters because they did nothing but bleed money. Because contenders couldn't get any sponsorships. Like you couldn't, like, I remember a long time ago, there was streamer teams that tried to participate in contenders and they wouldn't let them because, one, they wouldn't allow them to stream their POVs, and two, conflicting sponsors. So even if Overwatch League had a sponsor, and like a random streamer was trying to play in contenders, they were like, oh, your sponsor conflicts with the Overwatch League sponsor, so you can't play, even though you're playing in contenders, which isn't sponsored by them. You know what I mean? Like,
love the content.
It was such a fuck situation, and just like completely mishandled by, of course, big corpus suits. Didn't they used to have Overwatch League POV streamed? Yeah, it was actually really good on Twitch. And then they went to YouTube because they had to chase the money, and they lost that system. So, anyways, moving on. Riot Games says it was asked to do this by team's ownership. Each team paid $10 million for an LCS spot when the league franchised in 2018. Moving from a promotion/relegation system to having 10 permanent partners in the league, so like Overwatch League. The company framed the removal of the NACL mandate as a way for teams to unlock more operation and financial flexibility. So basically, this is what happened in Overwatch years ago, where teams basically ran out of money and they weren't able to pay for their contenders rosters anymore, so they just started dropping them, and they just said to Overwatch League, like, yeah, sue us, and then they didn't. So that's why most Overwatch League teams don't have a contenders roster anymore. and support the continued long-term success of the teams and professional esports ecosystem in North America. Shortly after the announcement, teams like Cloud9, 100 Thieves, TSM, and Immortals dropped their development rosters. TSM, for its part, is looking to sell its LCS slot entirely and move to a different region. This just comes after CLG sold its slot to NRG, and the two companies merge. Didn't Misfits also sell their LCS spot? Dude, I feel like Misfits actually made like 10 gigabrain plays in a row and avoided so many things. Like, you know, I always have good things to say about Mayhem when I was with them, but goddamn, they were smart. The LCSPA called it an unprecedented decision to destroy the NACL, leaving as many as 70 players, coaches, and managers out of jobs. If Riot Games was going to stick to this decision without players' input, players were going to walk out. The group... Okay, this is also, by the way, very important because, like, you know, imagine baseball removing its AA, AAA, and single A system and just having it be MLB only. It's like, where would you grow talent, you know? The group also alleged Riot Games' announcement was in the direct contradiction to what it told LCSPA earlier this year. The NACL would not be changed in 2023. The LCSPA is looking for Riot Games to support the NACL as a way to keep North American League of Legends esports scene healthy as a whole, and to make sure players can make a living while participating in the league. This is okay. You know what? I'm ready to fire today. I'm in the mood. I've been asked a majillion times, like, why did I never try to play in contenders? And it's like, one, I don't think I'm good enough. I would have to put in an extremely large amount of work. And you can tell the difference between, like, people who have played in team-based Overwatch and people who have not played really that much in team-based Overwatch. It's a massive difference. But on top of that, too, contenders players in Overwatch literally, like, make nothing. Like... Like, it's not a joke. There's a reason why they call Path to Pro and Overwatch Path to Poverty. Because you basically spend the entire month scrimming 8 hours a day at the highest level, scrimming Overwatch League teams and being their warm-up and going really, really hard, playing meta, banging your head against the wall for half a loaf of bread a month. It's bad. It's really bad. So, yeah, I can understand why they're fighting for that, because they don't want other players to have to go through it. It cited second-tier leagues in South Korea, Europe, which have recently successfully expanded into regional second-tier leagues, and China as examples of successful, thriving League of Legends communities. The League of Legends fan community was furious at the decision, with anger pointed towards both the teams and Riot Games. The LCSPA laid out its demands on Twitter following the decision, looking for a promotion and relegation process between professional and amateur leagues. A Riot Games funded revenue pool to pay for NACL team salaries, as an agreement for LCS teams to partner with NACL teams for cost sharing, guaranteeing year-long LCS contracts for players who win the LCS Summer Finals, an agreement that NACL players on drop teams could retain their spots in the league if they wanted to compete. They're basically just like, they're trying to guarantee them the ability to, like, still play and actually get paid and not get fucked. I don't think it's that ridiculous. Behind the scenes, Riot Games reportedly dropped a rank requirement that had to mandate professional players must maintain a certain rank in league to compete in professional play. I thought they were moving this because they were gonna, like, you know, in my opinion, from the outsider, I was like, oh, they're removing that because they're probably gonna have like a goofy, like, coaches play one day while they work on in the background, you know, work on actually having an agreement worked out. But no, that's actually not it at all. According to Esports insider Travis Gafford, the removal of this mandate would have let players play remotely at any rank, a move that was said it would allow teams to field Scab players to fill in for the striking players. The LCSPA asked amateur and collegiate players to decline these requests and to stand in solidarity with LCS players. Several broadcasters expressed support for the walkout and season delay as well, noting that they were not interested in participating in a Scab broadcast. Tuesday night, Riot announced it would instead delay the season and potentially cancel it if no agreement was reached. So basically, to translate this to Overwatch, is imagine Overwatch League walked out, and so they went to a bunch of, like, you know, college players or tier 3 players or, like, really amateur players, and were like, or like just random top 500 players, and will like come play in the league, and we'll pay you, you know, X amount. It's actually like it's a pretty high amount, I remember. Let's see if it's in here. Riot Games Global League of Legends Esport head NACL addressed the demands in a post on company's website on Tuesday. AFLA dismissed the majority of the asks, but said that the company will invest $300,000 in a one-time payment to Rallycry, the NACL tournament organizer. The money will be used in support out of NACL teams during the transition to this new structure. AFLA also said that the company already allows for cost sharing between LCS and NACL teams. She contended that Riot Games supports a robust, thriving development pipeline with its amateur and collegiate scenes. We do know that we need to do more to nurture those communities and bridge the gap between them and the professional scene. Okay, I do want to say Riot has always been kind of known as like a good esport. If they are being this aggressive to cut shit, esports genuinely must be in way more trouble than people even realize, and people already think it's in a lot of trouble. When reached for comment, the company declined further comments on the record. The Players Association followed up via Twitter on Tuesday night, confirming it has met with Riot Games and asking for daily meetings to reach a resolution. Tonight, one thing that is clear is to focus the players are the LCS. LCSPA wrote on Twitter, "Without players, there is no league, and there is no esport. From day one, exclusion from these decision-making processes drove the LCSPA players to vote to walk out. The future of the NACL and LCS is too big to decide overnight without player consideration. As players and Riot Games clash, the esports industry's anticipated growth is stagnating, according to the New York Times. You can see this in the amount of teams that have laid off workers and cut players. Even in regions that are touted for success in this field, esports teams are struggling." Arthur Herr, CEO of Korean esports team Gen G, said on Twitter Tuesday that Gen G, despite being a top earner of sponsorship revenue, has never turned a profit. There's actually a very interesting. Disguised Toast has a Valorant team, and basically he posted his financials on Twitter, and he's losing $1 million a year running an esports team. So yeah, we've continued to invest in these esports scenes, but macro conditions continue to worsen. He says a new business model is needed. When I was in LA, I was casually talking to Tenacity, and my jaw dropped when I heard how much League players are making. Oh yeah, they make big money. They make big money. Like LCS players actually make the money that people think Esport or Overwatch League players make. It's kind of funny. But yeah, it's been kind of